Yeah, so at the time I'm recording this, it's already been about 5 days since Far From Home was released in theaters, and I'm just now getting my video out. Which in internet time means I'm late to Dr. Connor's class. Get it? Because Spider-Man 2. This is Spider-Man 2, but not that Spider-Man 2. Ah, fuck it. Now, I've heard through the grapevine that this was, to some people, the best Spider-Man movie ever made. So, I watched almost every single Spider-Man movie in existence before seeing this, and guys, the hype may be real. I refuse to say anything definitive before buying this on Blu-ray and rewatching it alongside the rest of the Spider Saga, but if you are someone swearing up and down that this is better than Spider-Verse, better than Homecoming, and better than Spider-Man 2, I can completely understand that. Going into this movie, you can't deny that it had ridiculously high expectations. It's the first post-Endgame movie, it's the third Spider-Man 2 in the past 15 years, and it's the 8th Spider-Man movie overall in the past 17. That's some big ass shoes to fill, and I personally feel like it does a great job at trying to satisfy everybody. Whether you're wanting to see a Marvel world post-Endgame, you're an MCU Spidey fan, or you're just an average Spider-Man chill, like yours truly. Now, I was initially worried that Peter... Oh shit, I forgot to put this up. So I was initially worried that Peter mourning the death of Tony Stark was going to be a big factor in this movie. Almost too big. I didn't hate his presence in Homecoming, but I felt like Tony had just a little too much screen time in a Spider-Man movie. I get that having a well-known Marvel character play a role in these Spider-Man movies is a part of the Sony Marvel deal. I've just felt like Peter has pretty much been an Iron Man side character instead of his own hero with his own world. I wanted him to move on from Tony's shadow and become his own person. And that's exactly what this movie is about. Peter does mourn Tony and misses him a lot, but it's less of the focus of the movie and more of just an overlooming presence. I'd say the movie is more about Peter figuring out what he wants in life and making his choices, instead of being specifically about mourning Tony Stark. But that leads me into my next point. The trailers were extremely misleading, and that is fucking amazing. An issue with Spider-Man movies is that they are made and distributed by Sony, and Sony has a problem with showing just a little too much in their trailers. For both Amazing Spider-Man movies, the final shot was used in the trailer. I'm not making this up, almost no twist was kept secret. At least now with Homecoming and Far From Home, they don't spoil everything, and they use a lot of scenes that ended up on the cutting room floor. Now, there's still way too many damn trailers, and certain smaller twists are still revealed. But at least we are getting the end of the movie as the end of the trailer. I'll just take what I can get at this point. Okay, I feel like I need to talk about Jake Gyllenhaal or all the little fangirls will leave the video. I've been waiting for Mysterio to be in a Spider-Man movie ever since Spider-Man 3. The whole thing about him is that Quentin Beck, his alter ego, is weak. He doesn't have abilities or even a suit to help him withstand a fight with Spider-Man. So instead he relies on his skills in visual effects to trick him, and that all comes to life in a great scene that I knew nothing about going into the movie. It's a trippy, even horrifying great scene of illusions that I feel will scar kids kind of like the Green Goblin did to us when we were younger. Pretty much, if you have any semblance of fandom towards Mysterio, you will absolutely love his scenes. Speaking of which, about that twist. Everybody knew it was coming even from the trailers, whether you were a diehard Spider-Man fan or even a casual moviegoer. Everybody knew Mysterio was secretly the main villain of the movie, but do not let that diminish how enjoyable of a villain he is to watch. The scene where Peter leaves the bar after giving Quentin the MacGuffin only for him to have this almost hammy villain smile is fucking great. The exposition dump afterwards wasn't the best, but I liked the backstory change for him. But the thing I probably like the most about him is how overdramatic he is. Like the scene where Mysterio lies that he lost his family on his world to this fire monster as he fidgets with his wedding ring. Even his main theme, both his villain and his hero one, feel like it is kind of taking a jab at the MCU hero themes. Quentin Beck is an evil, overacting thespian through and through, and I love him so much.
But Justice, the Vulture is better! The Vulture is a better villain! Donnie Darko can suck my ass!
So I saw a lot of people saying that Michael Keaton was more interesting to watch and just an overall better Spider-Man villain. Look, the thing that makes Mysterio interesting against all the other Spider-Man villains we've seen portrayed on the silver screen isn't just that he's a normal guy. It's that he's just an attention-seeking coward. He's not trying to provide for a family, he's not a victim of circumstance, he doesn't go fucking crazy. He's just some douchebag who got fired by Tony Stark. And despite him genuinely not wanting to have to kill Peter and not wanting him to be a part of his whole scheme, I felt nothing when he quote-unquote died. More on that later. And that's just a testament to how good Jake Gyllenhaal sold it as this maniac, hungry for Tony Stark's spot. Now I feel like some of you want me to talk about that mid-credit scene next, but we'll get to that later. First I want to finish off about what I liked about the rest of the movie. So I know her name is Michelle, but I'm just going to call her Mary Jane because that's just what I want to do. Leave me alone. So Mary Jane and Peter get together by the end of the movie in a cute and believable way. I can completely understand why these two are attracted to each other. I just hope this doesn't go down the road of the Webb films or the Raimi series. The thing about the relationship in the Raimi films is that they give them a will they won't they dynamic for 2 whole movies right into the last minute of Spider-Man 2, only for them to have an abusive relationship and break up with each other halfway through Spider-Man 3. I swear I'm calm. I'm calm. And the Webb films, despite Peter and Gwen having a great dynamic in the first movie and Gwen proving that she can hold her ground, they break up in the beginning of the second movie because of Peter's dead father-in-law guilt. They have a will they won't they dynamic, then get back together before the third act, only for her to fucking die. I'm calm. I'm fucking calm. Look, the point I'm trying to make is that we've had enough of that bullshit. I get that Spider-Man has a complicated love life and he's got that good old Parker luck where nothing goes his way, but we've seen enough of this again and again and again. Even when it was done really well in Spider-Verse about a broken Peter who got divorced from Mary Jane, all it does is give me flashbacks to the war. Moving on, this movie is really funny, but I kind of feel like everybody knows this by now. Each different director adds their own style of comedy to their own interpretation of Spider-Man, and they're all funny in their own unique way. But I got to say, I think this trilogy is turning out to be my favorite in terms of its comedic prowess. Just the opening 40 seconds of this movie had me in fucking stitches. It completely sets the tone for not only the world after the sacrifice is made in Endgame, but the entire tone of Far From Home. I get that I'm hyping up this opening, but it's just that funny. And with that, I feel like I've pretty much covered everything. I'm completely satisfied. I forgot absolutely nothing in Far From Home. Everything is fine. Actually, wait. I forgot one thing. So this movie is called Spider-Man: Far From Home. But every single time I said I'm going to see Far From Home, even MCU fans went, what the fuck is that? And I say, Spider-Man 2. These dumb motherfuckers say, well, why didn't you just call that in the first place? Duh. It's completely understandable why after these many movies, John Watts wanted to stray away from using numbers to differentiate between Spider-Man movies. The fact that each series has tried to stray away from confusing audiences, but audiences react more to the confusing shit, fucking baffles me. It's not Spider-Man 2, it's Far From Home. Stop fucking calling it that! Fine, I'll talk about the mid-credits scene. So Mysterio releases doctored footage of his fight with Spider-Man, making it seem as if he was behind everything. He then reveals Peter's true identity. Now, this pretty much calls into question if Quentin even died and how this will unravel Peter's life. And while I feel this is a great cliffhanger to end Far From Home on, part of me feels like it won't be used all that well. And this is where we start to get into theorizing territory, which isn't something I really do in my videos, but Spooty is an exception. So for going off how Homecoming evolved in its cliffhanger in Far From Home, this will have no big repercussions at all. I honestly thought Aunt May would be a little more against Peter being Spider-Man, seeing as that was a big worry of his, but she's fine with it. If anything, she encourages him to go out and be Spider-Man when he doesn't want to. So if subverting audience expectations is the idea John Watts is going for, then maybe this reveal will have little to no bad effects. But Watts could subvert expectations in the opposite way by making this the main focus of the end of the trilogy. And this is where we get into my big theory, folks. I genuinely believe that the third Spider-Man movie could be a Sinister Six movie. Now just wait. I know Sony has a bad track record and even ruined an entire movie because they wanted a Spider-Man universe that consisted of a, wait for it, Sinister Six movie. But the trilogy has already introduced technically 5 candidates for the 6th. And the idea of a Spider-Man movie where there's a huge prison break and everybody knows his secret identity sounds extremely interesting. I don't know, the more I think about this idea, the more I remember how John Watts compared it to Harry Potter, how each film is a singular narrative, but the main characters are still evolving along the way. Also, at the time of recording this video, it's been rumored that Kraven is going to be the main villain of the third movie, and if that's the case, I'd be completely fine with that. But the thing that's rattling the internet more than Mysterio revealing Peter's identity is J. Jonah Jameson being reprised by J.K. Simmons in the MCU. And yeah, it made me really happy to see him portray the character again on the big screen. But it's not something I'm all in my tits about. I don't know, it feels like this appearance, while it's a great surprise, isn't all that astonishing. Anyways, I'm glad he's back, and I can't wait for him to be a bigger part in Spider-Man 3. And the twist that Director Fury and Agent Hill were secretly Skrulls. Why are there so many twists at the end of this movie? Jeez Louise. So I'm gonna level with you guys. I avoided Captain Marvel completely, not because of the political shit, but because the trailers just weren't all that interesting to me. So when Talos and Soren came on screen, I was a little confused. But after reading up on the internet and seeing countless theories, some of you guys are completely overthinking it. I believe that Nick Fury is hanging out in space just post-Endgame. While some people may believe that the MCU is pulling the rug from beneath us and revealing that Fury has been Talos all along, that just doesn't make any fucking sense. Call me a devil's advocate, but retroactively adding lore this big is just a bad idea. And hinting at Sword is cool, but I've honestly never read any comics that had that organization in it, and I've never even heard of it before seeing Far From Home, so I have nothing to say on it. Finally, I have now covered everything I genuinely wanted to for Far From Home. I usually don't do videos of new releases unless I have a big problem with them or I really like them, and if you couldn't tell, this video fits in the latter category. And the big question is, where does this fit in my Spider-Man ranking? And well, I'm actually not going to rank it this time around.
But Justice, you did it once for Venom. It's a pattern now. You can't just cop out.
Look, after rewatching almost every single Spider-Man movie and seeing this in theaters, I feel like I need to completely revise my Spider-Man ranking. But this video is already way too long, and I feel like I have a lot to say on that topic, so that'll be its own separate video released in the far future after Far From Home comes out on Blu-ray. See what I did there? It's fucking joke. The movie's really good, just go see it.